You really want to know just how bad, like, these new border checks are? Well, how about the fact that the system that is meant to be responsible for, you know, the very system that you use to do the checks is constantly crashing, breaking, and going down to a point where we might as well not even have implemented them. That you've just got people just waving them through. I mean, here's the thing. These checks have been delayed 5 times at this point, and I was saying this. I was honestly thinking there's no way these are gonna be implemented, because if you have a look at what the ports are saying, what the people involved down at the border are saying, that all these systems, all this stuff is just not ready. The systems, the people aren't in place. We don't have enough vets to be able to do all the amount of checks that you're sort of asking us to do. None of it's ready. So even up until like the 11th hour, I was fully expecting them to turn around and say, well, actually, you know what? Sixth time's the charm. We'll delay them again. But no, no, they actually went ahead and actually, said, there you go, have at it. And of course, given what you've just heard, how well do you think it's going? How well do you think it's going? Not very well at all. So we're going to go over a piece from the Kent Online with someone who is dealing with these checks, just to tell you about some of this stuff that is going on and just the shenanigans that are taking place. Because, oh boy, how this is not a bigger news story, I do not know. But hey, I suppose the local elections and etc. Have probably overshadowed it. Um, but hey, there you go. So, as always, thank you very much for all those people who do help and support the channel. Like I say, do check out down below the Pony Club, the YouTube thank you button, the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link where you can, well, buy me coffee. And of course, as always, you can always click the like and share button. That always helps out the channel as well. And of course, if you're new, hit the subscribe button as well. So let's go over the Kent Online to find out how this is doing. So the title is, how is the UK faring post-Brexit? Just look at the political shenanigans over the new border checks. So if you want, if you're looking for a measure of how the UK is now faring outside the EU post-Brexit, last week's news that after 5 pronounced postponements, the biosecurity checks on food products coming through the Channel ports was finally going to happen is at least a decent place to start. Dissent may well be very word the wrong capture to capture the political shenanigans around this major announcement, but it will have to do. In this case, backbench MPs were flexing their muscles over what they saw as the deficiencies in the new checks regimes, as one chief of these new decisions was to use it of the Savington site of Ashford over at least 22 miles inland. And as we've said before, what happens between you going off the port and those 22 miles? Well, anything can happen. And remember, there's also no legal requirement for you to go to that Sevington site as well, still, as far as I'm aware. So, you know, anything could happen between there. It's really worrying, to be honest. I'm laughing, but it's just, like, you've had 4 years officially since Brexit, and you've had even longer than that since 2016 to make sure this stuff is in place. But anyway, back to this. So it continues. So why not actually use the unit that had been initially allocated in Dover, just a mere 0 miles away? That would have all been far too complicated. Why put importers coming over the channel on a road to a site in all probability they might well just bypassed by some, especially given it is under lock and key with the state-of-the-art tools and equipment to do what was needed? For MPs, this was all rather perplexing, if a little irritating. The general feeling was that this needed some careful disentanglement, if so, in the best or maybe worst traditions of Parliament. They set about picking holes in each other's arguments. It let the chairman of the select committee write to the health secretary asking for a quote clear and unambiguous explanation by the department as to how the import checks will be rolled out on the 30th of April. He got a reply, which was extremely polite, but also declared that the government had never said anything about all lorries and vans being rolled out at the same time. Wow, just imagine that. Yeah, we're going to do these checks, but it's not going to affect all vans and lorries. So these concerns were then expressed so many times in this correspondence that it is likely to become a virtually impossible to get to the ones that were actually generally concerning and those that are now mildly worrying. No doubt some will point out to how many postponements there were about these concerns. Staff who had been allocated to work on these checks who had been given other things to do while a solution was indeed found. One of the more unusual strategies to try and combat migrants trying to reach the UK involved the Home Office was paying the Albanian influencers to go on TikTok to try and dissuade fellow citizens from crossing the channel. And that's not made up either. This is actually true when you look into this. The UK government had been paying TikTok influencers in Albania to do this. This is not made up. That was a real thing. Anyway, uh, the initiative to try and target migrants of conflict-free countries, particularly the young and working age men and their families, seems to have been at least somewhat successful. And the costs. The campaign replicated for a similar problem with Vietnamese migrants, and figures released to us from the Freedom of Information legislation shows that after a total of at least £494,000 was spent from the 1st of April 2022 to April 1st of 2024 on similar advertising campaigns. A Home Office spokesperson said these powerful campaigns demonstrate firsthand that the life of people arriving here illegally is a far cry from the lies that are being sold by the gangs on the other side of the channel. Last year, our campaign contributed to a 90% reduction in small boat arrivals from Albania, and overall numbers are down by a third. There is more to do. Expanding this work to Vietnam and other key partners in our work to try and tackle this illegal immigration will now help us save more lives to dent their business model from these criminals who profit from this vile trade. um, so yeah, as you can see, totally, totally normal guys. But hey, um, I'm perfectly sure these border checks, there's everything's perfectly fine and working right. Yeah, I really don't think so. Honestly, how this is not a wider problem and more reported, I don't know, but there you go. So I'm honestly, I don't know what to say to honestly half this stuff because it's just you've had like if you took from 2020, you've had 4 years, 4 years to get this done. Longer, of course, if you go back to the triggering of Article 50. You've had quite a long time by this point, guys. You've had a long time to sort this out. It's just Honestly, words fail me. just, just, just words just fail to describe the absolute omnishambles, to quote Malcolm Tucker, of this absolute disastrous border plan. Because this is something that when we get a new government, they are going to have to try and, sort this out. But it's going to take some time ultimately, but it needs sorting. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, as always, there are links down below. And of course, we'll see you all next time.